Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a makeup tutorial on this look that I'm wearing right now. I really love the way this turned out. I was kind of just going for whatever I came up with today. I didn't have anything planned, but I really like it. So this is going to be a makeup tutorial using all drugstore products. Also, I am doing a quick kind of first impressions of the new Maybelline, what is this called? Superstay Full Coverage Foundation. I've heard a lot of people talking about this, and I got my hands on it and decided to kind of include a review of that in this video. So if you guys would like to see how I achieved this full drugstore makeup look, then just keep on watching. Okay, I already did my eyebrows off camera, and I'm going to go ahead and start by prepping the skin for foundation. So to start the look, I am going to prime my skin with a pore filler primer. And this is not a drugstore primer. I'm so sorry. There just really isn't a great drugstore primer that I have found that's as good as this Benefit Professional. So that is one product I'm going to be using that is not drugstore. I'm so sorry. But if you can find one at the drugstore that you like that is similar, good for you. I wasn't able to find one that I liked as much as this one. I'm not saying that there's not good drugstore primers, but as far as like a good pore filling primer, I really like this one. So because we are going in with a matte foundation and I am fairly dry, I don't like to put it right onto my dry skin. So today I'm going to be using my new favorite. This is the Lira Clinical Mystique Illuminating Beauty Oil. So I'll just do a few drops of this all over the skin. You could totally mix this in with the foundation itself, but I think I'm just going to apply it all over first and then go on top with foundation. So this oil is so awesome. It has a combination of really good oils such as argan oil. I think it's got jojoba oil and a couple others. And it's very lightweight. Like when you hear oil, you think, oh, that's going to be super heavy. But it soaks in so quickly and it just leaves the skin feeling so hydrated. But it isn't heavy at all. So I'm going to be using the shade 128 Warm Nude. And I'm just going to do a few pumps on the back of my hand. And I'm going to be using a beauty blender just to shear it out a little bit, and it will help keep my skin from looking too heavy. So I'm just going to dab it in like so. Ooh, that was a lot. This is very full coverage foundation, so you want to be light-handed because it will be heavy. Very full coverage. So at first, right now, as I'm applying it, it looks really pretty. My pores are still showing pretty bad right here in my T-zone, even with that pore filling primer. But that's just what matte foundations tend to do on me, so that's typically why I don't purchase them. I don't know what it is, but whenever I use like a good like hydrating dewy foundation, it just glides right over my pores and it just doesn't like cling to them like matte foundations do. So I have a lot of redness right here around my nose from allergies and constantly blowing my nose. And it's very hard to conceal. So we're going to test this out right there. Wow. That actually covered it very well. Even with like my It Cosmetics, that one obviously isn't as full of coverage. And it usually shows up pretty quickly in that area. It gets red again. But that covered it very well. I don't see any redness. It's sitting very beautifully on the skin right now all by itself. Other than I can see my pores right here pretty well. But other than that, this is actually a really, really beautiful foundation. So for concealer, I'm using the LA Girl Pro Concealer. This is like $3 online. It's such a steal. And then I'm also going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in the shade Sand. It just looks like so. I love this concealer. You guys know I use this for a very, very long time. Still love it. Still use it on clients. So I'm just applying a tiny bit of this under the eyes to conceal the dark circles. And then the Maybelline one is a tiny bit lighter and it will help me highlight a little bit more. And then we're just going to press that in with my damp sponge. The consistency of the Maybelline versus the Tarte Shape Tape, it's a lot creamier, a lot lighter. So if you are someone that is like super, super dry, I would recommend this one for sure because it's a really, really nice formula. Very creamy. Doesn't dry super quickly like the Tarte one does. And it's only like $5. Can't beat that. I don't know if you guys can see how beautifully it sits on the skin. It just looks really, really nice. So far, the way that blended out with this foundation, it's looking really good. Still, I can see my pores right through here. I don't think that's going to change today. But everything else looks really good. No like splotchiness, and it wasn't hard to blend out. So to set my concealer, I'm going to be taking the RCMA No Color Powder, and I just have it into an empty jar here. I think this is from the It Cosmetics Bye Pores powder. I am not going to go super heavy with any of my face powders today because this foundation is matte and it has little to no tackiness. It honestly almost feels like I already have powder on my skin, like it's not tacky at all. To set the rest of my skin, I'm going to do a very, very light layer of this Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder in the shade Light Medium. This came out fairly recently and I really, really have been liking it. It creates such a nice like airbrushed finish on the skin. It's not super heavy. They do have a few colors. Like I said, I'm in light medium. And this pretty much is a perfect match for me. So, and to apply that, I'm going to be using the EcoTools Full Powder Brush. It's just a really nice large fluffy brush like that. And I'm just going to set the places that we're going to do contour and highlight. That way I don't have any skipping on the skin. And I'm literally using the smallest amount of powder on my brush. I don't even know if you can see that. It's just the tiniest, tiniest bit. You could probably get away with not setting this foundation at all, but I really don't want to risk putting on my contour and all of a sudden having like a bunch of blotchiness. It's just not worth it, so I always set just a little bit. And then I like to take a smaller brush like this one. This is the e.l.f. Small Tapered Brush, and I just like to set my eyelids with this, and then we can blend out any leftover powder that's sitting under the eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the eyes, and then we'll come back to the face and finish our contour and blush and all of that. So one of my favorite drugstore eyeshadow palettes that I have is the BH Cosmetics and Carli Bybel palette. It looks like so. So this was online at BH Cosmetics, and then Ulta actually brought it to their stores, and they've had it for a while. This is very, very inexpensive. It is on the drugstore side at Ulta, and I want to say it was like $14. So such a steal, and the quality of these eyeshadows are awesome. They do have a lot of kickback, but they're really, really beautiful. A lot of pigmentation. Let me show you some of the shades here. Obviously this is a very loved eyeshadow color. It's kind of a light mauve pink, and that's what I'm going to be using today. A little bit of that, and then this dark purple. And then she does have these really stunning highlighter shades. These two are very dark. I actually would use them as like an eyeshadow, but I do like these two right here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this really light vanilla shade and just throw this all over my lid area. Well, mostly in the brow bone area actually, and then I'll drag it down just a little bit. I'm not going to be packing it like on my lid yet, but just to give us a nice, really smooth, light base to work on. And what I mean by a lot of kickback is like when you put your brush into it, powder goes everywhere. That's what kickback means. And then fallout would mean if it like actually falls down onto your face while you're applying it. The fallout actually isn't too bad on these, it's just mostly the kickback. So I'm not totally sure what eye look I'm going for here today. I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to go ahead and start with that mauve shade right there. I'm going to start with this brush. This is the number 6 brush from the Rose Quartz set from BH Cosmetics. It's just got a nice loose dome shape. It is fluffy, but it's not too dense, so it'll apply our transition shade really nicely. And I'm just going to start working this into our crease here. And a trick that I like to do, if I feel like I have way too much product on my brush, I'll just kind of brush it on my hand and then go back in. And by keeping my eyes open and looking pretty straight ahead here, I can see exactly where I want to place the eyeshadow. So I see how it will look when I'm looking straight up like this. Because if you're doing it like, I don't know, down, I guess, you start to apply too low, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to pick up this deep purple shade right here. It is a little bit darker than that first shade, and we're going to use a smaller brush. This is the number 7 from that Rose Quartz set. So this will help us keep the next shadow a lot lower and tighter in the crease. If we were to use that same fluffy brush, it would probably cover up all that first shade, which we don't want to cover it completely. So this will help us be a little bit more precise. And I'm just literally following my eye socket with this one. I have a roast on, Sunday roast. It's one of my favorite things to make. And it smells so good. It makes it so hard not to want to just like dig in and eat all day long. Makes me very hungry. But it's so worth it when it is time to eat. It's just like, I've been smelling this all day and now I get to devour it. And I'm going to take that first fluffy brush and just start blending the edges a little bit. So that is the darkest purple in this palette. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the Morphe 35W palette. This is considered a drugstore palette because they are so inexpensive. And I'm going to be taking this really, really deep purple right there just to deepen it up a tiny, tiny bit more. You could totally stop here and leave it just like this, but I do want to make it a little bit more dramatic. And I'm going to use that same brush and just barely, barely tap. Let me show you what I'm doing. Barely, barely tap my brush in there. Tap off the excess, of course. Creates a little bit more definition right there. And I am going to connect it a little bit right there at the outer corner, I think. I like that. Like I'm going to take a little bit of that first very, very light vanilla shade and just kind of blend the edges with that, and that will really help us clean it up here. And we're also highlighting the brow bone at the same time, so I'm just picking up that first mauve shade again with that small brush, and we're going to buff this underneath the lash line. And I'm going to take a more pencil-like brush. This one comes to a little bit more of a point. This is the Morphe E17. And I'm going to pick up that really dark purple shade from the Morphe palette. And we're going to put that right up under the lash line really tight. And I do need to get a little bit closer with this one. So let me grab a mirror. It's really hard to do a lash line without getting really close. Okay, so once you're happy with how it's looking, we're going to move on to the lid shade. And I think I want to use this pinky shade in the same palette right there. It's really, really pretty. These don't have like names corresponding with them, so I can't tell you the name of it, but it's the only like pink eyeshadow in the palette. And I'm going to apply this with my Sephora Pro Shader brush, and I'm going to spritz it with some Max Fix Plus to get the best pigmentation. Or you can use your finger, as I always do. And we're just going to press this all over our lid space here. That's a really, really pretty shade. Not too pink, but like just enough. And we'll bring this into the inner corner as well. For eyeliner today, I'm actually just going to take a matte black eyeshadow from this Morphe palette, and we're going to use that to tightline and create a small wing, and that will be a little bit more natural than using like a liquid or a gel eyeliner, and that will give us something to put our false lashes on as well. And we just need a small angled brush like that, just an eyeliner brush, and I'm just going to start packing this right up against that lash line. You could definitely use like just a black pencil for this as well. It's not quite as heavy as like a liquid or a gel eyeliner. But eyeshadows have a lot of, they're very forgiving is what I was trying to say. So I like that I can move them around a lot more. It definitely makes the lashes look a lot fuller when you put a nice black line right up against the lashes. Before I apply my false lashes, I'm just going to give my lashes a quick curl and apply one layer of mascara. And as always, I'm using my L'Oreal Telescopic in Carbon Black. I'm thinking the next video I want to film is actually how to apply false lashes. I had actually filmed it right around the time that my computer broke, like a year ago, and never got to post it. So I'm going to refilm can get that up for you guys. That is one of my biggest questions as a makeup artist, is how I apply false lashes. For lashes today, I am wearing one of my favorite drugstore pair. These are the Ardell Demi Whispies. Here is the box. And these are so comfortable and so easy to apply, and they look good on so many different like eye shapes. They're not too dramatic, they're very comfortable, and I just love Ardell lashes in general. So my favorite highlight and contour palette from the drugstore currently is this NYX one. This runs $20, I want to say, at Ulta. The brush that I've been using for contour lately is this one from BH Cosmetics. This is also from the Rose Quartz set. I'm just in love with this set. Honestly, I've been using it pretty much every day. This is the #1 brush, and it's just got a nice angle to it, and it's a lot more dense, and I just like to pack it on rather than like doing buffing motions. So I'm going to be going in, I might be mixing a few. This one's pretty warm. I like the undertone of this for contour, so maybe I'll mix a little bit of both. So I'm just going to press this right here into the crevice of my cheekbone. And by doing a patting motion, I'm not risking like creating any patches in the foundation underneath. As you can see, it just creates a really nice line right there. No patchiness. For my nose contour, I'm going to be using the domed shadow brush from Real Techniques. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the cooler toned shadow and just shape my nose just a tiny bit. I'm not someone who typically does a nose contour like every day, but every once in a while when I'm going full glam. For highlighter, I am picking up these two shades on the ends here, and we're just going to mix the two. And I am going to spritz this brush with Fix Plus as well, and that will create a lot more of a dramatic highlight. And this is the Real Techniques, does it tell me? Setting brush. This is a setting brush, but it is bomb for highlight. Bomb. It just fits perfectly right there. It's very similar to the Anastasia highlight brush. Pretty. It's pretty subtle, but it's very pretty. Down the bridge of the nose, Cupid's bow, and then right here on the forehead. So one of my favorite blushes from the drugstore is this Milani Romantic Rose blush. It looks like that. I hate the smell of it. I've talked about this before, but it really is such a beautiful blush. And again, it's drugstore, so it's super inexpensive. They do have a few shades. They have like a peachy one, probably one that's a little bit more like of a brighter pink. And we're just going to throw this on our cheeks with the Morphe M556. Right in between the contour and the highlight. See how pretty that is? I just love the undertone on that on my skin. So now I'm just going to set everything in place with my Max Fix Plus. And then I'll take my damp sponge and just kind of press lightly, and that will help everything just really set into the skin. So for my lips, I'm going to be lining first with this Ofra Cosmetics lip liner in the shade Mauve. And I didn't want to use anything too bold for this look because the eyes are pretty dramatic. So I'm going to be using this, let's see, this is a Maybelline lipstick in the shade Pink Sand. And it's just a really, really pretty, subtle, like shimmery pink. I actually used this on a bride and I thought it was so pretty. And then I'm topping this off with my LipSense Clear Lip Gloss. These glosses are pretty much just like coconut oil and they make your lips look so juicy. I don't use LipSense very often. I love to use it on brides because it does last a really, really long time, but I love their gloss. So that is it for this makeup look. I hope you guys have enjoyed this little tutorial. As always, check the description bar for any products that I used in the video or anything else you may need to know. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!